It's time for another edition of Dome and Domer.
Hello again, Irish fans. Welcome back to Dome and Domer, the oldest Notre Dame sports podcast on the planet. I'm your host, Mike Sullivan from the class of 1990. And joining me today to talk about the big Irish win over Boise State, my classmate from the class of 1990 in Dillon Hall, Mike Brammer, Ed Jordanic, class 89, and Mike Coffey, class of 91, and representing ND Nation. So, guys, a positive. We keep that momentum going. 3 wins in a row. We're getting above 500, and I like the trajectory of where we're headed. Before we get into the broader conversation, let's take a minute and review our pick 6 keys to the game that we talked about on Thursday and see how those played out a little bit. Bram, you said, hey, one of the keys to the game is going to be share the wealth.
Yeah, and I thought CJ continued to do that. That indicates that he's got full command of what he's doing. I would have to say it wasn't quite the game that he wanted in terms of some of the touchdown that he missed and throwing into double coverage a couple times. But other than that, he got it out to the guys that he needed to get out to. Faison is obviously becoming a target for him. But even though Faison led, there was 5 other guys that all had multiple receptions. So I thought he did exactly what he needed to do.
Okay, one of the keys to the game for me was protect CJ Carr. I think the offensive line, once again, did an amazing job. We said the keys to protecting Carr were going to be handling Boise State's blitzes, 0 sacks for the game. I thought that was outstanding. And a strong running game as well was a way we could protect CJ Carr, the Irish rush for 200 yards. Eddie, you talked about the offense handling success. That would be a key to the game for you. How do you think that played out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it played out pretty good. I think the players were victims of overcoaching inside the red zone a little bit. And I think they, there's still too many TFLs for me as far as the offensive line goes. They had a good game. They kept Carr clean. But there were several drives that started on 2nd and 11, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, just because the offensive line couldn't get push, and and Love was trapped in the backfield or Price was trapped. But I mean, we're nitpicking, right? I mean, they played a good solid game. The offense handled success well. I liked the way that they responded, given to the fact that they had dominated and were losing 7-6 at one point. I think they had 150 yards of offense in the first quarter and not a lot to show for it. So yeah, I think, Carr is still learning. He did not have a great day accuracy wise, but he's a leader. You can tell he showed some moxie in some key situations again. So overall, I thought they handled success pretty well, with the exception of the some brain farts by the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on some of those things. I would say
you always do.
I know. Well, that's why we love talking about this. I would, for one, I think you're referring to the 4th down where we got stoned on the goal line. I thought Love should have bounced. He would have walked into the end zone had he bounced that outside. So, I didn't love leading CJ Carr as a lead blocker in that. So I agree with you there. But truthfully, Love beats everybody to the corner if he just takes it outside. And I think the offense handled adversity beautifully in the game. Coming into the game, did we handle success? We came out, we marched right down the field, didn't cash in. But I really love the way they handled the adversity of trailing and needing to score before halftime. Okay, another one of our keys to the game. I said I think we need to make them one-dimensional. I think the defense did a great job with that, shutting down Boise State's run game. They came in as a very balanced offense, 9th in the country. We held them to 100 yards rushing. So I think that played out pretty well. Ed Jordanic, you also then said time to break out. You wanted to see some of these guys with lots of talent, put it together. Did anybody stand out for you as having a breakout game?
Well, I noticed, right in I think the first drive of the second half, Boise State moved the ball, and on successive plays, Jalen Sneed, who I mentioned, was in on a sack, and on the next play, Young forced the quarterback to the sidelines, and that put them. I think they went for it on fourth down. I can't remember if that was a fourth down play or whatever. So those were the two guys that I mentioned specifically. They seem to have better games, and it's part of an overall theme of the defense just playing with a little bit more swagger for the first time. I think that we've seen this year with some attitude. It makes the first couple of performances that much more frustrating because it just seems like you're letting your athletes play.
Brammer's in O'Hare Airport waiting to get a flight. Bram, why don't you mute yourself? I mean,
his look on his face, and I'm like, what happened? What?
The rest of the season, just mute yourself. That'd
be fine.
He
just wants you to hit mute and never unmute yourself, Bram.
Nice.
Okay, Eddie. Go ahead.
So, anyways, yeah. So I do think that there were breakouts on defense, or at least mini breakouts, where you got to see some of the better athletes on that side of the ball kind of do what they do best. Sneed was obviously into the game. I watched him a lot. He was in on some plays. He still, again, pet peeve, nitpicky. I mean, he celebrates, the most, modest accomplishments that he makes. Like he just, got a pick six for a touchdown. But besides that, I think we're starting to see what we thought we had, which was a defense with depth and athletic ability, sort of making plays all over the field. And I will say that I think it's hilarious that the three of us recommended that Leonard Moore not play, and all he did was dominate. So
yeah, that's right. I know. Well, again, I always say we're not experts, so take it for what it's worth. I'll give you another breakout player. I thought KVA had an outstanding game, and not that he hadn't been playing well, but he really stood out to me. The last of our pick six keys to the game, Bram, you talked about turnovers.
Yeah, and I think obviously that was a great day for them. I wanted to see the defense take some things, and they clearly did. I mean, to have 4 turnovers, that's about as good as it gets. But you could just tell. I think I did see Sneed come alive. That's for sure. I think it was a great call on Ed's part. But I also like some of that swagger that he's talking about that we're starting to get from Tay Johnson, and that's just experience. That's just guys getting comfortable back there. But I overall, I think the identity of the defense is starting to emerge, and that's a great thing. But the turnovers was awesome. I mean, that is exactly what they needed.
+4 in the turnover margin. I was listening to post-game interviews, and the defense went in with a goal of creating 2 turnovers. They got 4, and so that is a good sign, and we're starting to see that turn over the course of now 5 games into the season. We're starting to see this defense generate some, and the offense protecting the ball. Okay, Coffee, let's get your thoughts. Give me something you liked about the game, Mike Coffee, and something you didn't like.
Well, I think what I liked about the game was what Ed and Mike were talking about earlier, which is dealing with adversity. I mean, I saw the first half. I mean, the offense was getting a lot of things done. It was one of those games where you look at the stats and you say, really, they're doing that? And but the fact that they were able to regroup and refocus and get things rolling was something I very much liked, because you kind of saw going along, when is CJ Carr going to have or when's the team going to have here's another team we should blow out, and not necessarily rise to the occasion, but they recognized it was happening, said regrouped, and got things going. Among the things I didn't like, can we never see that Wildcat play again? It's just, as Vanny and I were texting during the game, and he said, it's 4th and goal from the 2. You do not want to telegraph what your play is, because Jeremiah Love is not going to throw a pass out of that. He's definitely running. And I agree, yeah, maybe if he'd bounced to the outside, he would have gotten there. But when BSU scored their touchdown a little bit later, I texted him and said, I really hope that Denbrock watched that play, because that's what you do on 4th down from the goal line. You play action fake, naked bootleg around. Nobody was there, and that's exactly what Notre Dame probably could have done on that play. So,
well, Coffee, let's go back to Riley Leonard last year. In a situation like that, everybody in the world would have said, Leonard's keeping it. and fine, right? I mean, again, it just goes back to bad call if it doesn't work, good call if it does work. There's nothing inherently wrong with being in a wildcat and letting Jeremiah Love do his thing. As I said, I didn't love having the quarterback be the lead blocker on it, but again, if you go back and look at that, we did have the edge stealed, and I think he walks in. Eddie or Bram, we'll go to you now. Give me something you like, something you didn't like.
Well, I think you have to like the D, right? I mean, this was a game where they showed up again. And, back to your point about us not being expert analysis, we completely whiffed on where we thought the defense was at this point because all of us didn't anticipate them only giving up 7 points. I think all of us were expecting 20 points or more based on our predictions. But I really liked where the defense came of age, and their identity seems like it's there. On the bad sign, what Ed said earlier, first down and going backwards just continues to be an issue for us. And I get that they'll figure it out and get it done, but that was disappointing for me to see. I think I counted 5 times where we went backwards on first down.
For sure. Yeah, I'll give you one. I love from a defensive perspective, right? 4 interceptions, outstanding. But over the course of the year, and yesterday in particular, there's a little bit of a trend of dropped interceptions, right? So we have balls go through our hands. Now, I guess, hey, if those guys had great hands, they'd be playing on offense, right? I mean, what do you do with an athletic guy, a dynamic athlete who can't catch? He's a defensive back. But we seem to miss a lot of opportunities for interceptions, and I'd like to see that turn around. Okay, Eddie, give me something you like, something you didn't like.
Okay, this is going to be a little bit obscure, but we obviously are rotating through kickers at a pretty quick pace, and it hasn't hurt us yet. But I happen to be there, and it is clear. I think I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy who kicked the last couple extra points, I believe, is a freshman, and I don't know his name. He definitely has more pop than the other 2 guys. I'm not saying that he's the solution, but it's pretty clear to me that he's the future. I mean, the ball just comes off his leg at a different velocity. He gets it up in the air quicker. So that's maybe just something to keep our eyes on. Also, he has Buckner as his holder, which is interesting. If you maybe caught that the other extra points, Schmidt, missed the first one. I think they pulled him after that, and the freshman kicked the last 3 extra points. Schmidt had a different holder. So obviously they're still trying to figure stuff out there. The starting kicker, the transfer must still be hurt. So I was encouraged by this freshman kicker just because he's got some serious pop. And Schmidt is doing a good job on kickoffs. So I don't think we can complain about that. Things that I didn't like, I already sort of mentioned sort of first down. I will say Jaden Greathouse continues to be in the witness protection program. Did he play? Was he injured
hurt
yesterday?
Yeah, he was hurt.
Okay, so he wasn't there. So then let's turn that into a positive. I thought the receiving corps did another good job. And so the things that I didn't like, let's start with the ACC officiating crew, who just were terrible for both teams. There was the roughing the passer call on Onye, which would have been, I guess, our 5th interception, was really hard to fathom. I don't know what choice that he had, besides the fact that he was sort of in midair, as the quarterback was letting go of the ball. It was just a shaky sort of all around performance from the referees. So that's about it. It was a solid win, and I think Penn State losing, we'll see if they drop out of the top 25 and behind us. That would be sort of a good indicator for our playoff chances. Texas A&M and Miami rolled and looked pretty impressive doing it. So overall, it was a good college football weekend for Notre Dame fans, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. It'll be fascinating to see how the polls reflect that, and are we trending in the right direction? I saw a projection of the field as of today, right? And they got 6 six SEC teams in there. Okay, well, we know that's not going to happen. Like, I'm not even sure what the point of that exercise is. That they're going to play each other and eliminate some of them. But as we move forward, chaos is our friend, particularly in the ACC and the Big 12. I think we need to see those conferences get no more than one team, their champion, in the field. But a lot more to come on that. Okay. Last thoughts. Anybody want to jump in with a last thought before we wrap it up? All right.
Go
Graham.
ahead, Coffee. Coffee's got thoughts. I can tell. I can see the bubbles.
No, I was if Ed hadn't already brought it up, I was going to say, like, those guys were getting paid by the whistle on Saturday. It was getting ridiculous to a point where, like, borderline calls. It's like they were in there saying, well, if we see it, we have to call it. I mean, were they ACC officials, or did Boise bring them?
They were. They were. I was actually sitting next to the mom and son of the line judge.
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the same crew that worked, I think, the Virginia game last year that wiped away that great fake punt that Faison took for a touchdown. Same crew that called that. Yeah. So yeah, I thought there were a couple offensive interference calls on going both directions that were ridiculous. The Onye, that was ridiculous. A few of the other, defensive holding, I think that's something we got to clean up. We're physical in the secondary, but that's fine, but you can't grab. And I think there were a number of times when, they were the right call. And then, the procedure we left 21 points on the field. Let's be honest, right? We got 3rd and a foot, and we get a procedure call. Then we missed the touchdown to Pauling on 4th and 8, and we missed the deep ball to Micah Gilbert, right? So 21 points. And this final score really should have been, closer to all the things we said from the offensive standpoint. Nevertheless, hey, a really solid, gutty win. We talked about early in the season, you can't just have shootouts every week. You're going to run into a game where the offense is just a little out of sync, whether car's a bit off or penalties or whatever it is. Yesterday was that day, and the defense bailed us out. And that's a great thing to see heading into the rest of the season. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. We'll be back tomorrow talking about Coach Freeman's press conference and looking ahead to NC State. For Mike Brammer, Mike Coffey, and Ed Jordanik, I'm Mike Sullivan. We'll see you next time on Dome and Domer.